just got to begin to chase a dream that is bigger than you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Haley, and I am a general manager with Continuum Fitness here in Chicago, Illinois, but I also am one of their health coaches. So I'm certified through ACE, and today I'm going to talk to you about life changes and habit sustainability. So kind of fitting into our theme with fall is, changes. We hear it every year, physical changes happen, for example, like the leaves are changing colors, but also, things change in life. Kids go back to school, maybe you're going back to school, maybe you're starting a new job, spouse is starting a new job, anything like that. A lot of changes happen in the fall. This is very, very well known. And so oftentimes the first thing that kind of falls to the wayside is our healthy habits. You're not going to the gym as much as you were anymore, or you kind of stopped doing that meal prep that was really working for you, really helping you stay on track with a healthy diet. And so we notice that when times change, that the habits are the first thing to fall to the side. And so something that a health coach can really help with is keeping those habits and sustaining those habits as well, or forming those habits and then sustaining those habits as well, because that's kind of how life goes. A lot of for example, diets or plans, or this or that you find on the internet on how to form a habit, how to change a habit, things like that. They often have to do with like something that completely stops your life, and you're really successful at it when you're forming that habit. For example, like maybe this is like a weight loss challenge, and it involves you going to the gym like multiple hours in the day for 28 days, let's say. And you probably experienced some really positive changes. However, that challenge ends, your life kind of resumes as it does, and then you like gain all the way back, for example, or you lose your progress on where you were. And so um a lot of people come to me and they wonder, like, I just can't seem to keep these habits going. And oftentimes it has to do with simply that, like, you were pausing your life and it was on hold for this little amount of time, but then you let your life resume, and now like your habits fall short. But that's because like those challenges don't really teach you how to sustain a habit. First of all, set it up successfully, related to your life in particular, and then also how to sustain it. And health coaches are trained to do that. And so we're going to talk about how to do all of that today successfully. The first thing I always like to start with, and if you've been in my workshops before, you know that there's a couple of introductory slides that I start with. So stick with me here. But a lot of people have the question simply of like, what is a health coach? And it makes sense. It's a fairly new industry. And so what I simply like to identify it as a partner in an individual's behavior change process. And so notice how, it doesn't say director, it doesn't say leader, or boss or anything like that. I don't come in and tell my clients what to do. Oh, this is what works for me, this is what works for my other clients. It's all about what works for the client in front of me. And so there's a lot of active listening in health coaching, in terms of figuring out what it's going to take for you to successfully achieve goals and how to keep them going. A lot of that requires listening on the health coach's end. I'm kind of like the voice outside of your head that is asking you the important questions, is kind of getting a different perspective. Sometimes we can get so in our heads, and it can be really hard to see another way out, for example, in like, oh, well, I've just tried everything for this goal and there's just no other way I can accomplish it. Very simply, like, a health coach might use their active listening skills that they've been trained to do, and they might very easily be able to seek out a solution for you that's best suited for your life. So basically, they're a partner in your behavior change process. They are the ones who are helping you get to where you want to go in the most efficient way possible. A lot of people ask me next, they're like, well, what can you specialize in? Is it just like, are you a health coach for exercise, food, anything? And actually, it's a lot more than that. Oftentimes, there's different dimensions of our life that are affected, or we see the negative effects of it through our diet, through our exercise, or lack of exercise, lack of, healthy diet. For example, someone in a very stressful work or occupational situation, as you see here, they might, be just putting in all these hours, throughout the week. They might be really overloaded, and then like they can't figure out a way to find a healthy eating pattern, or they can't figure out a way to get to the gym, things like that. So oftentimes we have to dive into how do we improve that person's occupational wellness before we even start into diving in on how to best get them to exercise, get them to, eat right and things like that. So oftentimes it's not, sometimes it's not really the root cause that everyone suspects. It's related to any of these 8 dimensions of wellness, but it's not always the thing that people point to most. It's like, oh well, like I can't get to the gym because I don't have time. It's like, well, why don't you have time? And they might get into talking about, like a stressful family life, stressful work life, and then that's how we talk about, instead of just saying, well, you just need to get to the gym more. It's easier to talk about like the different ways we can improve, stabilize the stressful family life, the stressful work life, things like that. So these are all the dimensions I can specialize in helping you achieve your goals in getting all of those aspects of wellness on track. But then on the other end of it, I always do like to say that a lot of people look at it as like, for example, they see like, oh, Haley specializes in mental and emotional wellness. That means like I can just go to her instead of go to therapy. Wrong. There is, as a health coach, you are trained to see the extremes of things. So the signs, the symptoms, the disordered, thinking, thoughts, actions, things like that. You are trained to see all of that, and you are required to report to a higher up professional if it is necessary. So maybe someone's mental wellness is not very good, but they're experiencing signs and symptoms of anxiety, depression, anything like that. It's my job to report them or to recommend them to a mental health professional, and from there they work out the bigger issues, and then maybe they come to me after that, and we work on how to keep that mental wellness stabilized. Like whether it involves, are they taking their medication, are they doing their breathing exercises, anything like that, whatever it might be. I am more on that, like how to maintain your wellness, how to help you get there as long as there's no extreme outliers, and then how to help you maintain it as well. So I always just like to mention that because people always have questions. This is the last little introductory slide, but it's the one we're going to be referring to most for today. This is the illness and wellness continuum, and health coaches see this all the time because this is essentially everyone's life right here. You see that there are two arrows pointing to the left and to the right. Arrows represent a continuum, which is why this is called the illness and wellness continuum. But you notice that high level wellness, that's what we're trying to achieve, right? But there is no end to it. And we've all figured that out, that, you can't exercise for a month and then, be your best and never have to go back. You're always going to have to be achieving some sort of higher wellness, higher level wellness. And those steps start with awareness, education, and growth. And so, like I said, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to dive into each one of those aspects and how they all kind of add up to the steps to achieve that high level wellness over and over and over again. So, without any further ado, let's get started here and dive on in. We first have our first step is awareness. Becoming aware of the habit you would like to change is the first step. And we all know this. We all know that you can't really solve a problem if you don't know it's there. For example, if you have a leaky sink and it just, it kind of drips a little bit every second, one at a time, you're not going to notice the problem at first, but pretty soon that water adds up. And if it's not evaporating or it's not going away or going anywhere, it's going to pile up, and pretty soon you have a flood, and that's not good. So same thing with our health is we might not notice like the little issues at first, but then until it's too late, and then our body makes us notice them. So it's our job to become more aware of the habits that need to change. And so we are going to, as a first step, we're going to go with what I like to call our wellness wheel check. If you have been in my workshops before, you have done this, but it's a great thing that for you to do again. Notice that it doesn't say wellness wheel test, where when you take a personality test or anything like that, you tend to have some pretty consistent results. The wellness wheel check is a thing to use, every week, every month, every year, things like that. This is up to you on how often you want to come back to this. So if you've done this before, still, I encourage you to do it, but you can copy this down, or you can, write out the words and then put a number next to them. What I'm going to have you do is each of these, and I have a little example here, but each of these are looked at as a number line. So each piece of this pie where the lines come out to each aspect of wellness, look at that as a number line with 0 being in the middle and 10 being on the outside, 10 being the best as well. And what I want you to do is evaluate yourself one aspect of wellness at a time, and asking yourself right here, right now, what you perceive your, social wellness to be, for example. So like maybe this person was, like an 8, 7, something like that. It's not about what others think you might be or what I think you might think I want you to be at. It's about what you are, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Um, and then do that with this physical wellness wheel as well on the right. These are the 8 aspects of wellness that we touched on earlier on the left. And then these on the right, these 6 are a little bit more of what I see that people come to me with. And these are the things that we can see, right? We notice that we aren't physically active, or that we're sleepy, or that, our energy is really low, or things like that. And so this helps me streamline a client a little bit more, to, because those are the things that we most obviously see. You can get started with this if you have not already. And then the last thing that I'll say is that with this stress one, for example, I want you to look at it as stress management. So how well you manage your stress, with 10 being the best. Like, oh, I don't have a problem with managing my stress. It comes and it goes and it's fine. And then like 0 being the worst. Like, I don't know how to manage my stress at all. So there's just one little caveat there. You can pause this video if you'd like, if you need more time. But we are going to move on to step number 2. Step number 2 of 2 for this wellness wheel check. And that's going to be our connect the dots. So with all the X's or the dots that you put on the number lines, I want you to connect all of them next. And then from there, you're going to kind of get some sort of unique shape. So the goal is always to have this shape a little bit more filled out. However, if like, maybe our wellness isn't in a good state or anything like that, probably not going to have a filled out wheel. Sometimes you get, different sort of peaks and valleys as well. You can see in this person's example that occupational and financial wellness are very low, versus mental and social, environmental and spiritual, those are a little bit higher. And so there's a couple of things that a couple of reasons I do this with every client. This is essentially a first consult with a client of mine. But the couple of reasons I do it is, one, you get to see what is actually going on with you. A lot of times we say, oh, like we're fine, it's fine. And we're actually like not. You can see here like, oh man, like, okay, like apparently like I'm not really liking work, or like finances aren't good, or my emotions don't really seem to be in the best state, things like that. It's good for the person to see, but it's also good for me to see as well, because it's a sort of a conversation starter. I can see it as like it's a really good opener to getting started, or like diving a little more in. So and so, I see that your occupational and financial wellness, you scored those pretty low. Is there a reason for that? Is there are they together? Are they separate entities? When it comes to this, and I let them have the floor. Like I said, health coaching is a lot more listening than it is anything else, and so it's a really great way to get the conversation started on my end. But then the third and final reason I like to use this is because this is proof for like the work that you've been doing. And so when a client has been working with me, for a few sessions or a few months, or whatever, we always come back to this. I always keep everyone's original copy, and from there, I have them come back and check it, and I have them compare different shapes. I have them do one now versus 3 months ago, and hopefully that shape is a little more filled out, right? But also life happens. So maybe like there are certain more aspects that are a little more filled out that we've been working on, but then some other ones have been falling to the wayside for whatever reason. And so, and like I said, it's a health continuum. We're always trying to achieve higher health. And so those shapes can look different, but ideally after working with a health coach, you see like the benefits of this circle being a little more filled out than it was before. So this is just a really good awareness tool. Even if you're not working with a health coach, you can do this yourself. You can very easily do this yourself. You just have to keep yourself accountable on like when you're going to do this and how often you're going to check in with yourself. But this is a really great awareness tool for anybody to use. The next step is that education aspect. So knowing how to set up a habit successfully at the start is the next step in the habit change journey. So, we become more aware of, what might be going on, what might be a good goal to start achieving, but we don't know how to do it. Or how to start it. And so that's a really good thing. That's a really good next step. As you can see, it's that second step in this illness and wellness continuum. And so I bring you SMART goals. SMART goals are, we've all heard of them. I feel like the majority of people have heard of them, especially in the last, 10-ish years, 10 to 20 years. We have really been hammering this acronym home in the workplace, in schools, in maybe even in the home, or, and yourself personally. SMART goals, it's an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time oriented. Um, I used to think that I was one of the generations in school that we heard about SMART goals every single day, and I got really sick of hearing it because I was like, we get it, this is how you set up a goal. But coming back to it, kind of, full circle, when I decided to become certified as a health coach, this is also something that they hammered home a lot, and it's because it's very valuable, and it's very telling of what who's going to achieve their goals or not, based on, do they meet these 5 criteria. So for those of you that aren't familiar with SMART goals, basically what these words mean, I'll just go into them briefly, but is a goal that you're setting. So we'll use the example of, exercise. You want to exercise more. Okay, you write that down, or, you tell that to yourself. That's your goal. You want to exercise more. Well, what does more mean? How often is that? When are you going to? Different things like that. And so the S is standing for specific. It's looking for specifics, because like exercising more, if you're exercising, only 1 time a week, what does that mean? You want to exercise 5 times a week, or just, twice a week? You have to get specific with it. The next thing is measurable. Can you measure this? And it's kind of tying back into our example. I want to exercise more. Well, how often? If we're talking about how to measure it, it's like, how often? Or what is exercise to you? Is that lifting weights? Is it cardio? Is it both? How long is it going to be? Each session, how long is it going to be? Is this, measured in the amount of time you just check into the gym, or is it the amount of minutes you're on a treadmill, or, different things like that. You have to, those specific and measurable, they kind of go hand in hand with that. It has to be, you have to put some numbers to it. You have to put some different units to it. The next one, attainable. Is this attainable for you? It might be attainable for someone else at the moment, or maybe a little bit more attainable, but it just kind of depends on you. For example, like, well, I want to run a marathon in a month, but maybe you never ran in your life. That's not really like attainable. It's, you can do that, but odds are, like, somebody who's never ran in their life, them running a marathon in a month is, or maybe, in a month without injury or with success, and, finishing and things like that, it's not the most attainable thing. So you have to ask yourself that. And I think the next one, realistic, again, kind of goes hand in hand with attainable. Is it realistic to your life? This can be, for example, going back to, I want to exercise more. You know, do you, how often do you work? Do you work 100 hours a week? Do you have tiny children that, need your constant care and attention? Do you, not have the social support of people around you? Is everything kind of on you? You going to the gym for, 10 hours a week, that might not be the most realistic circumstance in the moment. And so your goals are all about, like, are they attainable? Are they realistic for you, for yourself? Because if we don't take these into consideration, they are going to, you're just going to get beat down with not achieving these things. And so that's what a lot of clients come to me with, is they say they're just so beat down from, like, not achieving their goals, and they wonder what the issue is. And oftentimes it's one of these things. And then that time oriented aspect. So like I said, with the wellness wheel check, it's good to go back and check to see how you're doing with things. And so same thing with our goals. I want to go to the gym more. And, again, that's not very specific. We got to, we have to specify it. We have to give it some measure. Is it attainable and realistic for you based on, what you've decided to measure it out to? But then for time oriented, it's good to have a check-in. So maybe, like, you try going to the gym twice a week for, 60 minutes for a month. And then from there, after that month is done, you make sure that you're checking in with yourself. Did it work? Did it not? Where do we go from there? So every goal has to have an end goal or a check-in point, just to see how you're doing. And so those are SMART goals. Very, like, deep dive into those. But again, I think sometimes we hear it so often, and people really just kind of breeze by them. They don't think about them because they hear it so often. But it's actually, a lot of times when I sit down with my clients and they have these goals that they've set and they haven't achieved them, almost every time at least one of these aspects is missing from from their goal, from their plan. And so the next step, with that, we become more aware of what we need to change. Here's how we change it. It's with SMART goals. And then now we're in the growth aspect. This is that third step. So the journey in your health and wellness is ever changing, but we always want to strive for that net positive growth. So we're talking about, change here, and, how to sustain our habits. But again, sometimes like that net positive growth that we're talking about, it might just be a little bit in some stages of our life, and it might be a whole lot in other stages of our life, and that's really great. There's a time and a place for all of that, but we always, like I said, want that net positive growth, no matter what, even if it's just a little bit. It's better than moving back. And so how do we do that, or how do we measure like where we're at with that? And so, like I said, this is the last step on that illness and wellness continuum, achieving that high level wellness. And what I bring to you today is stages of behavior change. So the SMART goals and these stages of behavior change, you could do a whole nother workshop on just these individually. But this is another most common thing that health coaches see when they're obtaining their certification, is because we often, we lay out a goal for a client, going through SMART goals, but we have to measure where they're at too. If they are not in the mood at all, or they do not believe that this is a goal important enough to achieve, they're not going to want to achieve it at all. And so these 5 stages of behavior change are a really great tool for health coaches to measure their clients at. And this can be something you use as well, but I'll just explain to them a little bit. And so basically the first step, pre-contemplation, that means that like when it comes to a healthy habit, like let's go back to like someone needs to exercise more. They need to increase the amount of minutes that they are moving every week. Um, Someone in pre-contemplation might not even give that a second thought. They might not even know that they are, not moving enough. And that's kind of going back to that awareness and education stage. They might, becoming aware of it, and whatnot, but it's not important to them, and they don't think it's important enough to kind of pay attention to it. For instance, then that contemplation stage is more like they're thinking about it. They're weighing out the pros and the cons. They are measuring whether this is worth it to them or not in their eyes. And this is something important to remember as a health coach as well. Is I know the importance of, people's health and wellness and how it affects their life. However, like it's my job to make people more aware and to educate them on how to do that, because not everyone lives in this world of, constantly having health and wellness thrown at you. And so it's my job to bring that world to other people. And so in this contemplation stage, that's maybe where a health coach steps in, or another trained exercise professional, or a doctor or anything like that. That's when somebody's weighing out the pros and the cons. They're thinking about, just what would this even look like? What would this be? They want to become aware and they want to become educated on it. Preparation would be that stage of change where they are preparing to take on this goal. So maybe they've gone through, becoming aware. They've done their wellness wheel check. They have, gone through SMART goals, and they formed a SMART goal with their health coach, and now they know what they need to do, and so they're prepping to do it. So maybe like the goal starts Monday, right? And it's to move more. Maybe they go out and buy new tennis shoes, or they don't have any tennis shoes at all, or things like that. They're taking steps to prepare to go into action. And so this action stage, the fourth one, is basically like somebody actively trying to achieve their goal. They're attempting it. However, it's been less than 6 months, so they're still actively just trying to put this goal into action, make it a part of their life, things like that. And then that fifth stage would be the maintenance stage. And we just measure that as someone has been doing this goal, whatever it might be. They have been doing it consistently for more than 6 months. And so they're in that maintenance stage where like it's become a solidified part of their life. It's just a part of their day to day. They don't even think about it anymore. This is just a part of their life, and this is important to them. And they do it because they are internally more motivated to do so. And so those are the stages of behavior change. And that's kind of how we grow towards our high level wellness, right? Like everybody starts off in every one of these stages, no matter what goal that you're thinking about. Everyone starts off in, one place or another. And we are always working towards that maintenance. And then maybe you're thinking about a new goal from there. These can always too, you can always fall back in these as well. Um, maybe you try it and then, you're in that action stage for 3 months, but, then you fall out of it or things like that. Now, maybe now you're back in that, preparation zone of you're trying to make sure that, okay, so I'm going to try again and this is what I'm going to do differently or things like that. So you're preparing to take that action again. Um, this is something, again, that health coaches use to measure where their clients are at. And then it's also something they use as like sort of an indicator of, okay, so this goal, they're in the maintenance stage and they've been doing this goal for a while. Is there another thing that we can work on, or another area of wellness they'd like to start working on, or is there something we can build off of from this, maintenance, this maintenance behavior that we have going on? And so with that, a lot of, just to kind of end it here and wrap things up, a lot of people ask me, like, well, who is health coaching for? And honestly, I'm going to say everyone. Um, what we just went over on how to, create long lasting change to build sustainable habits and to keep them going throughout your whole life, even when things start changing. It happens to everybody. This is something that will happen to you over and over and over again in different ways, no matter who you are. So I always like to say, I always like to bring these 3 points to the table to wrap it up. And I would be willing to bet that you identify with at least one of these. But I'll just read them here. But if you want to set yourself up for real, long lasting success with your health and wellness goals, if you want to learn how to more effectively set goals to maintain healthy habits in the long term, or if you want to completely shift your mindset and outlook on your health and wellness journey for the better, then health coaching is for you. Health coaching isn't a permanent thing. Health coaching can be or it can't be. It just depends on the client. Some people, they use me for a couple of sessions and that's great. They take some tools away from them with them that they can use with themselves for the rest of their life. Some people just like having that partner, that check-in person, that one that they can come to, and the amount of times that they see me, the frequency and things like that, it's always different. Some people see me every week. Some people see me, every month, every other month, things like that. So it all just depends on, who you are and what you want to achieve and where we're going with that. And so with that, I'll just wrap it up here. But we do have health coaching available to you at all of our sites. There is a health coach in your region. I am the Midwest health coach in particular. So if you're in the Midwest, you will be looking to talk to me. However, if you're in a different region, but you just have more questions for me, feel free to reach out. My email is right there. And any questions, comments, concerns I can address, I'm more than happy to, or I'm just happy to talk with you more. The good thing about health coaching and this world that we live in now is that this can be virtually done. So you don't have to be in, I'm located in Chicago, but you don't have to be in Chicago in order to make this happen. So talk to your manager or email me. But that is all I have for you. And I want to thank you for joining me today, for your time and attention. And I hope this was valuable to you. I hope you learned a lot. And I will see you here next time. Thank you, guys.